What's up, lady? How the hell are you? I can almost hear your voice in my head going, "What's up?" I hope you are enjoying your day off. From the external environments. I don't know. There's probably a couple fucking choice words that I can fucking come up with, and I bet you probably got a lot of them yourself too, so. Grand Rising, sister. How are you? Wait, I already know that. I'm great. I don't have to work today. I gotta do shit to be myself. Woohoo! Don't worry, I'll wait for more than one person to be in here. Apparently the feeds were a little bit slow. I noticed that the more I was on, the more people would show up. So, I'm in it for the long haul, lady. I love how Craig the Moccasin guy comes in here all the time. Every time. Him and my uncle. When you see Samuel Aponte come in here, dude, he's one of the, I don't know why his closet ass literally comes into my life and just all of a sudden disappears. It's like, what are you watching from the background, bro? Am I making sense to you? And you don't want to admit it, but foolish pride runs in the family, man. I see it every day. Even in myself sometimes, to be honest with you. It's part of that generational conditioning that a lot of people don't really want to come to terms with. That's kind of like how it goes down, right? Oh, no, I don't want to do that today. I don't feel like it. I'm tired. And that's kind of like why I'm here. Because today is a day that was, hi, baby. At first, very lethargic. You know what I'm saying? And I kind of feel like, talking about spiritual attacks is something that I feel like I'm very passionate about, especially when it comes to the details and the experiences that I've had. To help people better understand that not everything is laid upon us by ourselves. You know what I'm saying? There are things beyond our control that we don't necessarily understand, but when we're energetically connected to those things, they might have an influence on our lives. And another way of saying that is like, be mindful of who you give your attention to. Be mindful of who it is that is in your circle, that you allow to be in your circle, because every window is a window of access, even the ones within yourself. And I know a lot of people have heard us talk about windows, but it's also a part of that devil energy that's going around that a lot of people don't necessarily know. It's like, hey, dude, this is actually the devil's in the details, and if you're not looking at the details, then you're automatically at a disadvantage, right? And that's the spiritual game and how you play. You're here to play chess, not checkers, right? And I remember the last time my wife told me that you're here to play chess, not checkers. And I am now discovering what chess actually means. You know what I'm saying? It requires intuition, discernment, discipline, communication, and a good relationship with your spiritual court and yourself simultaneously. Okay, the harmony is within, fam. Then you got to dig deep for this shit. And it's not something that you can buy in a store or pretend that you have it. You know what I'm saying? Because authenticity is authenticity, and the flow of authenticity is like no other, and you see those things instantly manifest in your life in one way or another. You know what I'm saying? So, when it comes to the intricate details of our spirituality, or our spiritual understanding of self, basically is spirituality, saying that when you look at the architecture of how these things work, kind of like the cause and effect, which is a universal law and duality, you kind of formulate these understandings and a difference of perspective as you practice them over time, right? So that's how you see through the illusions, fam. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of our bullshit that we believe is still bullshit. It's not true. You know what I'm saying? And we're going through those processes of seeing what is actually authentically true versus what isn't, And that's that mirror that is kind of like changing phases right now. We're kind of like paralleling, dancing between timelines in a sense is what Spirit is saying here. But it's a timeline of the old versus the new, and I think that's one of the biggest things right now is realizing that you're seeing the old and you're seeing the new, or you're witnessing the old and witnessing the new, or witnessing the old, seeing the new, you know? I mean, it's all about perspective here, fam, so let me not lose you for a minute, you know? Because these things are happening simultaneously and they're happening next to each other, so that way you can take a look at what you're not and make choices on what you want to propel into the future: goals, success, finances, abundance, whatever it is that you've been trying to manifest, house, land, you know what I'm saying? A change of scenery, you know, a change of environment, a change of state, a change of country, whichever way you want to look at those things, you know what I'm saying? Right now is the opportunity, because these last couple days right before the spring equinox comes in, we realize that we're actually going through a portal. We're going through a window. We're changing seasons, and we're also changing signs. There's a lot of Aries, there's a lot of fire energy coming up inside of ourselves, which is not only about passion, but it's also about purification and a big review and a reflection of how stubborn we can be when it comes to our success, our self-worth, you know, or like breaking boundaries because we're tired of doing the same things over and over and over again. And I think, you know, we all benefit from these things, from this awareness in one way or another, when we sit there and we actually rationalize the information that is being given to us, you know? And that's part of our spiritual discernment, you know? And I live by that code because I was trained by that code, because Spirit gave me that code, because my wife instilled it in me, you know what I'm saying? So either way you look at it, dude, when you honor the path within yourself, you honor your gifts, you start paying attention to yourself, you realize that they're kind of like a sacred code that you need to abide by, that allows you to be yourself without having to without pretending to be anyone else. You know what I'm saying? You are uncomfortable in outside environments, but it's being comfortable within your own skin that a lot of us may have a hard time understanding, or what that's really about, or what that feels like, or how's that flow, and how's that, you know, confirm things in my life, and are they happening for the greatest good? Can we pay attention to these things? Can we focus on those things, you know? And believe it or not, yeah. But part of the understanding is, like, you can't have one without the other. So if you're getting distracted consistently and you're not able to achieve your goals, you're not able to make your finances grow, you're not able to be to abundantly flow, that is part of the deception that you have to see, that you cannot emotionally engage with, because it's actually going to keep you from getting what you want, but it's also showing what you actually believe. And you are now meant to face those things and overcome those things and look at them from a different light that gets you to where you want to be. You know what I'm saying? If you want more money in the bank, if you want a car in the driveway, if you want a house to live in, if you want land to fucking buy, if you want, you know, basically if you want to take a vacation, if you travel cross country, whatever your ideas are, whatever you're really passionate about, putting more time, effort, and energy, the T, you know what I'm saying? The T is really important, because your time, effort, and energy and effort is your currency. This is the energy of the universe that we're utilizing to manifest abundance in our lives. You know, our healing journey is happening almost damn near naturally, because if you follow the planetary alignments, we're meant to go through this shit at the times that we're meant to go through this shit, and we're not necessarily supposed to say no to it. You know what I'm saying? Because it's God's clock, it's not our clock. You know, so we just can't sit there and be like, oh, you know, I've been going through this shit for months and weeks, and, you know, it's just never going to get any better. And it's like, that's the problem right there, is the fact that you believe somehow that this isn't going to get any better, because the physical structure, the physical stability that you have is very unstable. You know, and the trust starts from within. So if you don't build that trust within, and you don't create a strong foundation for yourself, and you'll believe lies all fucking day and keep yourself from doing the things that you really want to do with your life. You know what I'm saying? And these are the things that I've noticed along the way. In these past couple of weeks, it's been very energetically depleting, you know, forcing you to look at yourself, or your spirit is basically manifesting everything that you need for this next upcoming season, and you're a little fucking tired of everything and everybody else's shit, you know? Or D, all of the above, you know, because that's a possibility as well. So with that being said, I want to get into the cards, and I want to see what the hell's going on with the energy for the next couple days, man. Because these days are something to look forward to, because we're actually celebrating the seasons. We've gone through ceremony, we've gone through a death and rebirth, we've gone through realization, reflection, and all those things, and this is what the season is all about. And it's coming to a close, and you're about to go through another window, you know? And our awareness of how these cycles, these patterns, these movements, these things that come in are really important to us, because we're part of the natural element. Everybody, you are the you in the universe. You're all connected to it, regardless of whether you see it or not, you know? But if you actually start paying attention, it'll confirm it for you. And I promise you, if you see 111, 222, you know, random numbers that just keep repeating themselves, that is a confirmation from the universe that something actively is trying to get your attention.
You know what I'm saying? Because this is a play. The universe is a play, and this is all a dance, and we're all dancers. And when we dance with the universe, we don't fight against it, right? And that's what the universe is consistently teaching us. That's why we have these lessons. This is why we have these planetary cycles. This is why we have these energies that help us discover more about ourselves and show us our courage, our strength, our inner knowing, and our intuition that allows us to lead a more fruitful and abundant life that is more aligned with the history of the universe, the natural element, the natural flow of things, without the destruction and chaos and unnecessary fucking things that we have to go through on a daily basis, right? So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull some cards, fam. I just want to thank you all for being here, and I want to let you know that if I do readings for you, these are reading-based donations. I am not putting a price on these reading-based donations today. All these proceeds go to the fundraising of the sanctuary, because we're building the sanctuary from the ground up, and we are looking for finances to be able to do these things, and we're looking for your support and asking for your help in that sense to make these things grow, so that way you have a physical structure where you can come and enjoy these services that we have, enjoy the company of ourselves in an environment that is more comforting and natural to the human being and the human body, instead of these city-based constructs and stuff like that. So this is one of the reasons why we're on today. We will be raising funds for our sanctuary, and it doesn't matter. I'm not putting a price on the readings today, so if you're interested in getting a reading, just let me know. Make a donation, type done and how you donate it. I'd be more than happy to do a reading for you. It doesn't matter, all right? So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start this collective, and welcome and thank you all for being here. For those who just came in, before I get started, sounding like a salesman over here. So let's dig. Let's see what we got collectively. What do we have collectively? Okay, we'll start with that one, huh? Yay! We're gonna start with that one. Ooh, 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 ooh. I had a lot come out. So let me sort these out real quick. I got the Beast Spirit, man. And it talks about community. It says, you are a powerful creator. Your work blesses everything you touch. Be open to receiving sweetness. You are the queen of abundance, right? And this kind of reminds me of a lot of that feminine energy, and also the harvest, of that energy, and being able to kind of like make it work for you, make it mutable, make it, they're also saying divergent for some reason. They're showing me a twisted flow, but it's all intertwined simultaneously, that we have the ability to kind of like manifest things in our life. But until we understand the dualistic perspectives of you can't necessarily have one without the other, and you have to pick and choose a side of where you want to be and enjoy the journey of doing so as you choose, you know what I'm saying? That's part of your divine sovereignty that a lot of people are becoming more familiar with, or becoming more intuitive about, or more clear on their understanding of how this actually works. This is all meant for you. And with that being said, I want to show you the card, all about community, but it's also about how we perceive things, how we're looking for things, how we can sniff things out. This is our intuition. This is our intuitive ability. This is our ability to see others that are of like mind, like consciousness, that believe in the same thing, and that understand that there's some flaws in the community. There always is. We're all learning and growing at different times. We're all changing the speed of life as we grow, we evolve, and we enlighten ourselves, So being compassionate in that space, and not necessarily looking for deception or looking for judgment consistently, would benefit you greatly at this time, is what they're saying. And for the next couple days, you might be kind of like calling the ball and not getting it completely on, but seeing where the ego resides and getting clarity on how judgment is still a thing for you in one way or another. And that's what I'm seeing. It's like these parallel universes that are fucking riding simultaneously, or timelines, like you say. You have the ability to jump between both, and kind of like people are having flashes in reality, possibly even spotty forgetfulness and things that are happening right now. That is kind of like you're jumping around, and you're moving based on where the planets are putting you right now, based on your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, where you're at right now. We're all being placed, in a sense, in these little kind of like communities where we're of like mind, and we can actually get together, we can co-create, and we can create something better for ourselves. So if you're like in a self-help group right now, or you're looking for self-help group, or you're looking for self-help period, you know what I'm saying? If you're not finding it in meditation, you can come to us at Four Corners Healing 37. Our services are on there. We'd be more than happy to assist you in anything where you feel might be, too complacent, too stuck, too safe, you know, or you've been thinking about a new idea, a new business, you know, doing something that is more passionate or aligned, we can help you with those things with our Soul Counsel service. We also have mentorship and certifications for energy healing, Reiki, and other things as well on our our sister website, wombatheancientsun.org, which is the sanctuary, which is where we're raising funds for today. And with that being said, if you have the wolf spirit in your life and the wolf resonates or the bee resonates with you, understand that you are actually in this process of rebirth. You are in this process of becoming that butterfly. You're in this cocoon phase of your life that allows you to become more connected with everything around you and not necessarily be affected by it. You know, this is a very nonchalant look because it's like you almost have to fuck your feelings to ignore the fact that you're feeling them sometimes because you keep feeling the same shit and you haven't necessarily changed your perspective on it, is what I feel with this card. And a lot of people are turning that blind eye to this, to these events in their lives now. It's like, no, I don't have to put up with this. They're enjoying that sovereignty or that boundary that they've set for themselves that allows them to embrace a more profound way of life or more quiet way of life with less fucking noise, because now you've actually commanding the energy. You're learning more about yourself and you're committing to these things. And this is what this energy is asking for. So, you know, if you feel like you need to get up off your ass and do something because you've been laying on it for too long, now's the time to fucking do it regardless of how you feel, you know? And that's also an example of why I'm here, you know, because the energy can be very overwhelming. We are in the energy, we're in a lot of complacency right now, and we're actually reviewing this complacency. I don't want to do that. I don't feel like doing that today. I'm just going to choose comfort over realism and practicality and actually success, because now you're turning the wheel in your favor. You're actually intending to turn the wheel, but normally on a day that you would succumb to what the wheel has to offer. You know, that's the energy around you, and that can be the energy within you if you embrace it. And that's kind of like the big deal right here. It's like sometimes you have to realize that you're meant to push past shit, and you're not meant to cower in fear, and you're not meant to go to sleep, and you're not meant to take a nap, and you're not meant to do it the fucking tomorrow either. You're meant to do it right there and then, but the universe is waiting to see what the fuck you're going to do, to see if you're going to change something in your life to give you more of that. Right? This is how we do it. This is how we spin the wheel. This is how we create momentum in our lives, fam. You know what I'm saying? Check the price of pay attention. Be the beautiful butterfly, or be the shit that literally gets succumbed to it. You know what I'm saying? That it rises above, that it flies over because it's no longer a part of that system. Right? And honor your energy, fam. This is a really big deal right now, because it's also part of your authenticity and your awareness of the community, because not everybody's out to get you. And this is kind of like a call to be more trusting in what it is that's being said to you within your heart space, within your intuition, between yourself, your soul self, the body, what the energy is telling you, and not necessarily with the emotions that you're feeling, right? Because we can easily get stuck into the emotion. But when we maintain that sense of clarity and awareness that we're interconnected with all things, and we're meant to feel them in one way or another, to either disclose or discard whatever it is that's being presented to us, because everything's a gift, right? But not every gift is meant to be accepted in a sense, because it's not a gift that's meant for you. And I'm talking about other people's energy. And this is where we're going to get into the cards, because they're showing me protector and authentic, right? And if you've been seeing a stag or a white stag, or the representation of a white animal, a white wolf, or possibly even a penguin is what they're telling me, of course, the butterfly as well, you know, these are strong bees. These are strong things that are happening in our lives right now to give us those confirmations that we might not necessarily believe so much. But if you're seeing these type of animals around you, or, you know, notifications coming up or something like that, the universe is trying to get your attention. Spirit's trying to get your attention is what I'm hearing here, you know? See, and this is more about community, because now they're pouring out the authentic card, and it says, reach out to your tribe in times of need. Family gives you strength when you face the storm. Love your uniqueness. You are full of surprises. Break free from others' expectations and just be yourself. And what they're really trying to tell me here is that you guys got to trust your spirit team, your spirit self, the soul and the body that you are. You know what I'm saying? People are more accustomed and comfortable to functioning from that space, because like the way that they're showing it to me is that a lot of us are literally fighting a bunch of resistance because we can't necessarily hold on to that way of being anymore, you know? And that's part of our authenticity. It's part of the authentic journey of becoming yourself. You know, this is part of that rebirth process. You know, the spring is right around the corner. You know, this moon is going to be nothing profound, because a lot of you are going to notice, whether you realize it or not, a lot of you are going to notice that things aren't the same anymore, that something has changed. Within these next couple of days, You're going to realize it for yourself, and it's going to be a profound realization, because that's right. The universe is changing, and it responds with our consciousness and our awareness of the consciousness that we are. And that's the direct connection that a lot of people kind of like misunderstand, right? And a lot of us we're birthing that energy inside of us right now. That energy is literally coming up into the heart space in a lot of people, and having us settle the indifferences or the imbalances that we have on our heart, in our mind, things that might be stuck in our soul. If that's not a shamanic journey, if you're looking for shadow work, we do those things as well, but everybody's in a different place right now. But we're all coming together to take that next step and have some more common ground when it comes to the spiritual community and what we believe is the spirit self, because a lot of us get caught up in these practical fucking ways of being, or these practical ways of understanding things, not realizing that the way that we have learned things, what comes from a survival space, and we're not allowing the divine to teach us the sovereign way, the way it was meant to be in the first place. You know what I'm saying? So by our judgments and our beliefs of those judgments, because they've happened before, because somebody told you those things, aren't necessarily true in any way for you, because it's not meant for you. You're meant to see what's authentically true in your life. And I feel like that's what this Page of Pentacles represents, because it's a physical confirmation in your journey that you are receiving information, that you're receiving love, that you're receiving messages, that you're, you know what I'm saying? But it takes commitment, is what Spirit is saying, and that's part of the authentic journey that a lot of us are on, because we chose to be on there. Some of us are on the fence, and some of us just don't want to fucking deal with it because we're too busy on their boat, sucking up our own bullshit and not necessarily pleasing ourselves in one way or another. And that's where all the judgment comes in. But I also feel like this judgment card is like you passing judgment or coming to judgment of yourself with this card, with this Page of Pentacles right here. It's you realizing that you are no longer those things. And why should you judge in the first place when you already know, because you feel, because you sense the energy, because you pick up on these things, and you just need to be more disciplined and accountable for not allowing these projections of these energies or these awarenesses of these energies to affect you in a way where it actually keeps you from doing the things that you want to do in your life, because you're too busy focusing on it, hating on it, shitting on it, rebuking it. You know what I'm saying? No, fuck that. I don't want to fucking deal with it. No, fuck that. I don't want to deal with it. No, it requires one heartfelt no. Say it 3 times if you want to. You know what I'm saying? No, I don't have to deal with this shit. But don't be a coward either. You know what I'm saying? You have to come to terms with the fact that there might be truth underlying in that pain. But if you see that it's not yours, then that's a different story now, isn't it? Let's not sit here in our minds, because with Gemini, they're showing me a lot of sword energy, and Gemini being a factor right now in the planetary alignments is really important right now, because that's air, that's the twins, that's duality, that's you really taking a look at yourself and understanding that there's a yin and a yang to everything that is also inside of you, that you become more self-aware of. These things are waking up inside of you. It's in your DNA is what I'm hearing, We're all on a soul path. Soul evolution is a constant, right? But some of us might want to settle, stay where we're at, not realize that everything changes. And that's kind of like the sword in the rib. You know what I'm saying? That's where you really get stuck, because then you become very, very kind of uncomfortable and unpassionate about what you do over time. And then you end up hating yourself or hating where you're at, and you're meant to overcome these things. You're not meant to carry those things. You're not meant to fucking literally kind of say that it's, that these things are finite in your life right now. No, you're not meant to make these type of declarations, is what Spirit here with your Page of Swords. You know what I'm saying? We have to stop emotionally overreacting to the things that we think about, because they come up in our minds, right? With that being said, you realize that there's a subtle, passionate patience that you need to have for these things, because now you could see the construct for what it is. And when I say construct, it means that little fucking pre-recorded message that's going on in your mind that has been constructed over time and built by other people, that you now believe and you hold to yourself to be true, right? We're seeing how much weight we carry because of the beliefs of others, because of our experiences. You know what I'm saying? The generational conditioning is very serious, but also at the same time, you have to see the energetic patterns in order to change them. One of the first indications is I don't like that, and I don't really appreciate those things of myself, or I don't appreciate those things of that person or that mother or that father, and then you don't realize that it's that lack of appreciation for the fact that you now don't that you've walked past it, that you've moved above it, that keeps you there not appreciating it and not necessarily being comfortable with the energy. You're meant to release those things when discomfort happens. This is part of that rebirth. This is part of that release. This is part of you coming over that 3/4 moon and literally kind of like the last bits of purification happen before the new does, right? And we need to be more confident and trusting in that space, man, because like literally if you're going through shit right now, that's because things are getting ready to be better for you, okay? It might not look like what the fuck you want it to be, all right? But it's definitely going to be better than what it was because you've accepted where you're at, right? And you know, we have to be humble, and you know, we have to understand that we have to have some sort of humility when it comes to this stuff, because we're not coming from a survival space, we're not coming from a wounded space, we're not coming from a sacrificial space, we're not coming from a martyr space. We're coming from the perspective and the openness of oneness. We're coming from the openness of the perspective of the communication that we receive as intuitive beings. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's got gifts. Not everybody's gifts are the same, and not everybody knows that they have gifts. You know what I'm saying? But you have to understand that the ones who do have gifts are meant to share those gifts because those gifts have been bestowed upon them, right? You're not necessarily meant to keep it to yourself and get away with it the whole time. No, God wants you out there. God wants you interacting with the universe and playing and dancing and experiencing and doing all those things, because God is also you, and you've been entrusted by the Creator itself to enhance your abilities, to learn and grow and embrace consciousness for what it is. You hear it all the time about the embodiment, fam, but a lot of people get intimidated by the word embodiment because they don't know what it is. It starts with a feeling inside of you that you actually accept, right? So let me give you an example. All right, somebody says something that pisses you off, right? And you allow it to fester for a brief moment, right? And it's still stewing in your mind. You have embodied that energy because now you've been affected by it, because you didn't protect yourself or know that your defenses need to be up, or know that your energetic system has to have boundaries or energetic boundaries that don't allow you to emotionally be affected by these things because you've come to term by them. This is why we say watch your circles, fam. Because it could come from anywhere. You don't know who's projecting on you. You don't know the energy that other people are carrying. You know, and even though we're really trusting about, you know, some of us could be really trusting about who we allow through our door, or expose ourselves to fucking multiple people at the same time, not realizing that we may be carrying their energy too, because we are of like vibration of a higher mind, the higher consciousness, the higher self, the healer, right? Or the seer, or the intuitive, or the medium, right? There's a responsibility to these things, because we all have these abilities, right? You know, but a lot of us have been farting fucking around, not realizing that there is kind of like a discipline that has to be had with these things, because we're responsible for God's gifts. So are you. You know, and this is all that discipline. This is what is true. This is the belief, the lack of belief in the lie anymore. You know what I'm saying? This is that transitionary space that actually allows you to evolve to somewhere where you're more passionate about everything that you do, regardless of what it is that you do, because now you're engaging in self-worth, and you know what I'm saying? You're embracing that connection. This makes more sense than the reality that you've been living. It just feels like you should go that way, or you feel compassionately pulled that way somehow, or you're more intrigued about it. That is the inspiration that you allow to turn the wheel in your favor. In order for you to be inspired, you have to take things into your account, focus on them, and they will grow, right? Because the light is also you. These are the things that are simple plant freaking physics, man. You know what I'm saying? Because you're not really different from it. The more you focus on it, the more you feed it. So be mindful of what it is that you decide to feed, because you're meant to learn and grow from those things themselves, right? You know, and this is what we come to understand on the path, right? But sometimes we can get a little caught up on the journey and realize that our emotions are overwhelming us to the point where it's pushing us to somewhere where we don't necessarily belong. And that's why we feel fucking shaky, uncomfortable, vulnerable. We want to comfort ourselves excessively. We want to hide under a fucking couch like a fucking dog that's scared of lightning. You know, those type of things are happening right now. And instead, you know, utilizing the understanding of duality and perspective, it allows you to see that you're going through something very sensitive, that you're being taught something, that you are feeling these things for a reason. Maybe because you're punishing yourself, but maybe because you're also meant to evolve in that moment, and having a more courageous or a stronger mindset to push past whatever is ailing you in that sense will actually allow you to rise above those things and experience the gifts and the blessings that are also available on that new level, being mindful that adversity on every level is something that we all face, and it's the universe's way of checking us to see if that promise that or that trust or that compassion is there to continue to manifest these things, the dedication, the commitment, the focus, the drive. And this is where these are the building blocks of life, fam. You can literally do anything with this energy if you learn how to alchemize it and you learn how to manifest it, right? And we have these courses available to you on our website. So if you're looking for these type of services and you want to know where you fit for these services, if you have any questions, please reach out to us, because the juggling act can be no longer, man. This isn't about hiding, when shit gets thick or you feel uncomfortable. This isn't about backing down. This is about you stepping up. This is about you rising. This is not fucking facing your anxiety with fucking foolish ego. This is facing your anxiety and be like, bitch, you ain't mine anymore, bro. Have at it. You know what I'm saying? There's the fucking door. And that's you honoring the things within yourself right now. That's you embracing the juggling act and realize that there is no choice at all available as well. There's left, right. There's no choice at all, right? Which leads into a more abundant, successful aspect of yourself. But you're still, you know what I'm saying? With the new moon, there's still a lot of shaky energy and a lot of things that are on the fence right now. Trust your spirit team. You know what I'm saying? Like literally, trust your spirit team for the victory that you so desire and deserve is what I hear, with that card, and of course, we have a victory card on the bottom of the deck, mastering our emotions, overcoming the things that no longer serve us, surrendering those things that we're meant to surrender to the universe because we're manifesting something more, something greater, something beautiful, something free, something liberated and passionate, and passionately is what they said here, if it isn't a time for kind of like us to revisit our foundations or our spiritual beliefs, and now's the time, because it's also important that we realize that we are the alchemizers in our life. We are the ones who have the ability to discard energy, take on energy, alchemize energy. We're the wizard, fam. You know what I'm saying? This is why they have the magician in tarot. This is why we have these abilities to learn how to manifest with earth, air, fire, water, learning about the north, south, east, and west, learning about the chakra system and all those beautiful things, because these subsystems that we're all learning about, all these little details, is how we enact life here. You know what I'm saying? And understand these things and the processes that go with it, right? And it sounds like it's a fucking lot. Well, it's a lot because it is, but also at the same time, the only reason that it's overwhelming and it sounds like, oh, well, do I really want to fucking commit to that? Well, yeah, you should. Why? Because you feel better about yourself, because you make better choices, because you have a healthier mindset, because you don't necessarily walk like you used to walk, and you're prouder of yourself, and you literally stand up taller, and you feel taller, and you feel like you've grown, and you're more motivated and inspired to do the things that are more joyful, that are more happy, more free, and more liberated is what I'm hearing here. Those things are all going to intensify, so should you accept it, is what they say here, But you really got to walk through the fire to understand the flame. And then you learn the flame, and you walk with the flame, and you carry that flame, and you honor it every time it shows up in your life, in somebody else or another, or a person, place, or thing, or a situation that is happening, because it's setting you free. Right? A lot of us get caught up in this fucking whole, oh no, because this personal situation is really personal, and things aren't, really working because this other partner or this other party won't stop what they're fucking doing. Well, the second you cut off your energy and start walking away from it, that's when the reverberation starts. The thoughts come and go. And as you distance yourself and continue to walk on the path without distraction, without looking back, you realize that eventually you get that cord snapped because you walk so far away from it, it's no longer in your energetic field and it doesn't vibrate at your frequency and it disappears, right? And that's also spiritual defense. But it works in many ways, So these are the intricacies of life that we're meant to understand that can seem a little fucking overwhelming, because the reality of the physicality, is what Spirit is saying here, is literally still consuming people into believing that these things are finite, when in reality you are infinite, And the infinite structure of what your life looks like is completely and totally up to you, whether you think that the government is involved or, whatever conspiracy theory controls your fucking life. That is also something that you're meant to fucking release. That is the baggage that we got to get let go of, because ain't nothing controlling our life but our beliefs. You can trust that, So I hope you enjoyed this collective message, fam. You know what I'm saying? These discernment services that we have here to break through any molds, any chains, or anything that you might be clueless about or want to jump into, we have these services available. It's called Sacred Soul Counsel on our website. If you would like a reading, these are donation-based readings today. I'm not putting a price on the donations. The link is in the bio. Just type down in how you donate. I'd be more than happy to do a reading for you today. Again, we are raising funds for the sanctuary. Fuck yeah. You know what I'm saying, dude? That's kind of like that last piece of the puzzle that needed to come together to make this, to complete it. You know what I'm saying? They're showing me a little 5 spot right there, and this is the 5th spot that is coming together to create the honeycomb in a sense, you know? So with that being said, we would appreciate any of your donations. I'd be more than happy to be of service to you for these donations so we can make shit happen in our lives, both of us, you know? Where'd my music go? Did you freeze again? You gotta trust that divine timing, man.
That dominated your 2024. I man you first.
What's up, Michelle? How are you, ma'am? Thank you for being here. Does anybody have any questions by chance? The awkward silence. It's just a vibe. I don't necessarily favor. I like interaction, you know? Most of the time it's just people dumbfounded by what they've been told. I'm not, you know? It's like clap for yourself, do something. You received this message, which means you're actually doing shit. Stunned again. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Well, you have a wonderful day, and I hope these messages actually resonated with your spirit, resonated with yourself, resonated with your soul, and have the ability to calm and quiet the mind enough for you to be able to focus on what's really meant for you. You know, and here it is, fam. For those of you who have any questions or concerns, or maybe in the next 72 hours, something just magically comes up that you don't understand or you have questions about, you can reach out to us on fourcornershealing37.com. So, with that being said, stay beautiful and blessed, fam. Much love. Peace. How do I shut this shit off? Why do you do this to me consistently? Thank you.